deadline for entering the T-Bike build-off is coming closer and closer. So far, I haven't made it past the disassembly and planning stage, so we really need to get cracking to get this done in time. After spending 45 euros on the bike itself and another 58 on a set of 26-inch thick slick tires, I have already used the majority of the allowed 145 euro build budget. When we ended part 1, I was just starting to clean the old components that are meanwhile polished and ready for assembly. I always clean my metal parts using a steel wool sponge that removes old grime and surface rust in no time and also acts as sort of a pre-polish. After that, I like to polish everything with Autosol and a microfiber cloth. Since I did all that in between the 2 episodes of this build, the first thing we have to do now is get the frame itself ready for assembly. Step 1 is going over some of the worst looking areas of the frame with a scratch repair paste, just to get rid of some of that surface rust that has accumulated here. Of course, I won't be able to remove all of that rust without damaging the paint, but that's not the goal. It is going to be a red bike. I just want it to look a little bit nicer in those areas. Just like with the components, a little bit of Autosol goes a long way with making metal parts look a lot nicer. It's not a huge amount of work, but it has a great effect. When you see a logo with a prancing horse on a black and yellow background, I don't think you need to be a big car nerd to immediately associate something with it. And so I wanted to show some extra love to that head tube badge. I believe it started out with the background areas completely filled in black and yellow, similar to the badge on the C-tube, but only tiny bits of that original color are left. And with all that taken care of, it's time to polish the frame. Since I can't remove this left crank arm, I'm just gonna jam as much grease in here as I can. Slight problem here with the replacement mudguard. The holes don't line up, but it's something that we definitely can solve. So we'll just flip it over, because I wanted to cut it down anyway. So it really doesn't matter in this case. So we'll drill a new hole down here, use this, and then just cut off that end. Let's start by attaching this up here, and then we can mark the new drill hole and then figure out where we're cutting this. Tight down here. Like a glove. Perfect. Good to have a very short pin for this. And we really need this marked on the other side, so I'll just... Now, because this part down here is still so long, can't get the tire in. That's annoying. Good news is the tire fits, but I'll need to redish it a little bit to the left. Now the question is where exactly we place this. I think the length is pretty good. There's still quite a bit of play, and I want to avoid to mount those extra struts, so this is not fully tightened, so this will be, there's still the hole from mounting down here, so we'll cut it a little bit. I also want to change the shape, but maybe slightly like this. This is how I plan on cutting it off now. So I've marked the outline, did some painting on here until I was happy with the shape. So all the red part obviously needs to get cut off. Now we just need to remove those sharp edges. Oh yes. Yeah, there is a little bit of play, but it's not too bad. I feel like this stem is asking to be slammed all the way down. I just managed to sell the rear rack for 10 euros, which means we have some extra budget. And for that reason, I'm mounting the pedals now, because the pedals are actually white. They're stock pedals from this bike. Initially, I thought we don't have much of a choice but to mount some used brake cables, which would then be black. But now, since we have some extra budget, maybe some new white ones. But yeah, that's something I want to evaluate with other colored parts on the bike. This might seem like a bit of a strange order to do things, but that's why I jumped to the pedals now. I've decided before we make a decision on the brake cable color, we will mount the shifter cable. And before we can mount that, we need to have the chain installed, because the rear wheel needs to be in its final position. Otherwise, it messes with the tension of the shifting cable. So very important we don't forget to mount this attachment here. Otherwise we can use the coaster brake only once. It's a used cable, by the way. So the tension is super low now, and we're just going to move this up. I've chosen a silver brake cable housing in the end, and before I show you how well that blends in with the rest of the bike, let me ask you for one thing and one thing only. Today, I don't care if you subscribe or if you like this video, all I'm asking is for your vote in the cheap bike build-off.